the siege of DeFi's front gates. For years, decentralized finance, DeFi, was a sanctuary where code was law. That sanctuary is now being breached. Under Section 406 of the Clarity Act, the government has identified the soft underbelly of decentralization, the websites we use to access it. Imagine a world where the permissionless nature of the internet is stripped away. When you attempt to swap tokens on a protocol like Uniswap, the screen no longer simply asks you to connect wallet. Instead, a mandatory federal gateway appears, demanding a passport scan, a social security number, and a live 3D facial biometric scan. Because these websites, front ends, are now legally classified as brokers, they must know their customers as intimately as any bank. The choice for developers is grim. Implement these surveillance tools or retreat into the command line, a technical abyss where 99% of everyday users cannot follow. The Great Bank Heist. While the public was distracted by the promise of regulatory clarity, a masterstroke was played behind the scenes. For years, the SAB 121 rule acted as a digital levy, preventing the massive liquidity of traditional banks from flooding and overwhelming the crypto market. By forcing banks to hold massive cash reserves against crypto assets, the SEC had made it too expensive for them to play. The Clarity Act is the explosive that breaks that levy. With the rule overridden, the old guard, BNY Mellon, State Street, and Citi, are no longer watching from the sidelines. They have spent 3 years building fortress custody infrastructure, waiting for this exact moment to take the keys from crypto-native firms like Coinbase. This is the institutionalization of custody. Your 401k and pension funds won't be held in a private wallet. They will be locked in the same vaults that fueled the 2008 financial crisis. The stablecoin wealth transfer. The Genius Act has fundamentally rewritten the math of the digital dollar. In 2025, issuers like Tether were more profitable than BlackRock because they kept the yield, the interest earned on the billions of dollars of government bonds backing their coins. Under the new law, sharing that yield with you, the user, is legally forbidden. The 4 to 5% interest that should belong to the holders is now codified as a windfall for the issuers and the banks. It is a massive invisible tax on every person holding a digital dollar. Furthermore, because these coins are now under the Bank Secrecy Act, every transaction, from a cup of coffee to a political donation, is broadcast directly to federal regulators. The dream of a digital dollar has been hollowed out, leaving behind a private CBDC that functions as a perfect surveillance tool. The hunt for the rebels. As the US and the EU, via MyCA, synchronize their nets, the dark crypto world is being systematically hunted. Privacy is no longer a feature, it is a red flag. Monero and Zcash are being purged from the regulated world, not because they don't work, but because they work too well. We are witnessing a bifurcation of the internet. On one side is clean crypto, sterile, tracked, taxed, and owned by Wall Street. On the other side is the rebel underground, a shrinking space where developers risk arrest to keep the original vision of the cypherpunks alive. The scoreboard: who owns the future? As the January 15th markup approaches, the influencers will tell you that the bull market is here and that regulation is winning. But the video warns that this is a victory of assimilation, not adoption. The banks have successfully gentrified the space, evicting the rebels and moving in the compliance officers. BlackRock has turned Bitcoin into just another line item in a 60-40 portfolio, stripped of its revolutionary potential. The user gets a higher price for their tokens but pays for it with their financial freedom. The question Blockchain Vein poses is simple. Is the number go up technology worth the privacy go down reality? The year 2025 left many crypto investors bewildered. While the headlines screamed of a global bull market, Bitcoin and altcoins remained strangely stagnant, dropping 10% while international stocks and silver experienced a face-melting rally. This was the great detour. Capital did not disappear, it simply chose a different path. Instead of flowing into the US tech bubble, liquidity rotated into the German DAX, the South Korean Kospi, and raw commodities. Guy describes this as a decade-long thematic shift. The 2010s belong to US tech, but the 2020s belong to the international rotation. For the crypto investor in 2026, the challenge is no longer just picking the right token, but timing the moment when these saturated international markets finally overflow their profits back into the digital asset space. The fragmentation of the altcoin season. The altcoin season of 2026 does not look like the rallies of the past. It is being dictated by regional preferences and regulatory fences. The European filter. Under the full weight of MyCA, European investors are moving away from the wild west of meme coins. Instead, they are gravitating toward Ethereum, ETH, Solana, SOL, and XRP, assets that fit within the strict compliance and environmental frameworks now enforced across the continent. The Korean fever. In the East, the kimchi premium is back with a vengeance. South Korean retail investors are pouring liquidity into XRP, treating it as a primary vehicle for risk, unfazed by the institutional narratives dominating the West. Perhaps the most vivid shift in 2026 is the transformation of Ethereum. No longer just a playground for DeFi experimenters, Ethereum has become the global settlement layer for real-world assets, RWAs, and tokenized gold. While Bitcoin struggles with the others' BTC ratio, Ethereum is holding its own because it is the plumbing for the world's tokenized dollars. Guy notes that the strength of ETH in mid-2025 was the first signal of this shift. However, this utility comes with a price. The market remains a volatility monster. Even as Ethereum settles trillions in value, investors are warned to brace for 50–70% drawdowns as the global liquidity cycle goes through its periodic purges. The narrative of 2026 is ultimately one of patience through the storm. Historically, the mid-decade year is a bearish period for crypto, a time of consolidation where the weak hands are shaken out by a strengthening US dollar. Guy's outlook suggests that 2026 is the year of the compliant anchor, holding stablecoins, tokenized assets, and Ethereum while waiting for the geopolitical fog to lift. The true golden age is projected for 2027 and 2028, a window where global regulations are settled. Geopolitical conflicts, like those in Ukraine and the Middle East, have reached a resolution, and the massive wall of international liquidity finally crashes into the crypto market in a way the world has never seen. In short, 2026 is not the year to get rich quick. It is the year to survive the rotation and position yourself for the inevitable flood of global capital. Follow Blockchain Vein for more on the ever-evolving crypto landscape.